Good evening to all of you. I hope all of you can hear me clearly. Okay,
Good
so
evening, teacher.
good evening. So since we have few students joined, I think we can start. Meantime, other students will join. So I think we completed writing these synonyms, and actually we have completed up to the last activity in Unit 1 in the workbook. So today we will again continue with the pupils book. So in the pupils book under Unit 1, there are few more activities which we need to do, right? But the only thing is I will be skipping few activities in this pupils book because they seem to like some of them are like reading out and some of them are reading and answering some questions. So you can see this activity 6 there. What we will have to do is to read it, and then we will have to discuss in groups related to this reusing of different things. So I think this may not need to be done in the class because the main aspect here would be reading. So we have done few exercises related to reading and discussing as well. So you have been talking about your schools, you have been writing different exercises. So we will be skipping activity 6, 7 as well, because here also there is they have given a small activity or a magic trick, and then we need to discuss about the magic tricks we know. So I thought that rather than spending time here, we will do some new sort of activities so that we can get more knowledge in different areas, right? And activity 8 also, I think it is reading the information, reading the notice given, and what is the notice written by Venura, and writing a reply. So here also, maybe this kind of exercises will be touching in the other activities in the coming unit. So in that case, activity 8 also we will be skipping. Activity 9, I think this is something which we already did, right? So under a previous activity, you wrote about your school, and then you read it at the class. But only thing is, one thing I wanted to highlight here is this mind map, right? So this is something really important which you need to know, right? So in that case, we will take few minutes to discuss about what is a mind map and how it helps us to do different activities, right? So you can see here, if you observe this mind map, right? You can see this is Rajan planned to deliver a speech at the school assembly. This is how he did it using a mind map, right? So what do we mean by a mind map, right? So in a mind map, what we actually do is consider that we need to talk about something, consider that we need to express something to someone else, maybe we need to write something about something. So in such a situation, there can be different ideas, right? So in a previous exercise, when we were writing, I told you that one way of organizing what we are writing is we can list down, right? I told you, list down all the things which you feel that is relevant to what you are writing, and then try to see whether they are in a proper order, whether the flow is okay. If the flow is not okay, try to organize it in a more meaningful manner and then only write, right? So this is again going to be another method which we can use to organize what we are going to write, or at least it can be even in a speech, right? So in our mind, why we call this as a mind map is when we take something, let's say in this example, we have my school. So when we say my school, we will be having different ideas, different facts related to the school, right? So here they have given few examples like what's the name, where it is located, how many students are there, how many teachers are there, and then what are the different buildings we have, and what do we learn there. So likewise, there will be different things. So using a mind map, what we try to do is we try to list down. It is kind of a list, but represented in a different way, right? So in this way, we try to identify what are the different information that we want to include in the specific writing or even in the speech, right? So when we have this mind map, this is, even though we call it as a mind map, why we call it as a mind map is it is the information which is there in my mind, right? I know all these things, but how I'm going to organize it. So this map will help us to figure it out, right? So here you can see in a mind map, what we do is we have the central or the main topic we need to discuss, and on top of that, we will have to come up with what are the different ideas we want to express during our speech or the writing, right? So this is one way of representing or having the mind map. But in some cases, it would be easy for us to organize it if we kind of group these things, right? So as an example, maybe I will stop sharing here and then I will share a whiteboard, right? So just to show you a few things. So let's say I need to write or have a speech about my school, right? So I will be having different ideas, right? So in the previous example or the example given in the textbook, it simply writes down all the information, but we can organize it in a maybe in a different way, right? Maybe I will be grouping different information, right? So as an example, maybe I can say the basic information. So what are the basic information related to my school? And then maybe I can say what is the resources in the sense we can say the uh, or we could say rather than resources, we could say the people, who are the people related to my school, right? And also then maybe I can have another subtopic, or I could say a group in which we talk about different uh, resources, or we can say something like that here. Yes, we can call it as resources. And then what else? Maybe we can say resources or facilities. We can also call here as facilities, right? And then maybe we can have something like other, right? I do not know. I just took just to show you. So in this way, we can see whether I'm going to cover all the important areas, right? So earlier what we were talking about is the very low level information. But when we are gathering the low level information, sometimes we may not figure out all the important areas. But if we have this kind of classification or a grouping, it will help us to see whether I'm missing anything, right? So in this example, maybe the basic information would be the name of the school and where it is located, the village, right? So it can be the village or the town, and then maybe even who is the founder of your school, right? So likewise, there will be different information coming under each of these categories, right? And then people. So we can talk about the students, whether it is a mixed school or whether it is a girls only school, whether it is a boys only school, right? Students. And then we can talk about teachers, right? And also we can talk about the principle, right? So under the same category, there will be different information, right? And when it comes to resources or facilities, we can talk about the classroom, how many classrooms we have, right? And also we can talk about, then let's say, the buildings. We can start with the buildings. This much of, we have this much of buildings, and in this much, in these buildings, we have this number of classrooms, right? And then we can talk about the lab facilities we have, if there are any computer labs, if there are any science labs. So we can talk about the labs, right? And maybe in the other, maybe you can talk about anything like what are the things you learn, right? This learning means may not be the subject matters, but what are the good things which your teachers teach you. So likewise, you can have another category to just to give other information, right? But from here, you can see by having this kind of grouping, you will make sure that you are having all the relevant areas which you need to cover related to the topic you are going to talk or write, right? So this is another way that we can further extend the mind maps when we are writing. All right. So again, I'm repeating. So we can have, when we are writing or when we are making a speech, we can either make a list of what I'm going to talk about, and then we can reorganize. The same way, we can draw this kind of a mind map, and based on this, I can think, okay, I'm going to talk about the basic information first, right? So I'm going to talk about the basic information first, and then maybe the people, and then the resources, and then the other things to close the topic, right? So likewise, we can organize it further if we have this kind of classification, and also we can make sure that under this category, I'm covering all the information which I'm going to talk about, right? So that is actually what I just wanted to explain here. But I think we may not need to go into the doing the exercise, because we know that you already have written uh, an essay on school, right? So I think most of you read what you have written, and you have really included all the information. So this is another way that you are going to make sure that you have not missed any information you want to include in your speech, right? So whenever you are going to do a speech, I have seen that some people or some speakers, they try to write the whole speech, right? But that is not how we should do any speech, right? When we are doing the speech, it should be natural. We should have the information with us. And maybe, yes, we might be having this kind of a reference small document, right? So maybe I have this drawn mind map with me when I'm making the speech, but I'm not looking at a paper and reading what I have written when I'm making a speech, right? So that is the other important aspect when we talk about a speech, right? So never, when you are doing a speech, always get used to get down only the information, and when you are doing the speech, you make it the way you want, right? So never have a piece of paper in which you have written the speech, because the listeners will not be quite interested to hear it because you are reading from a paper. Rather, try to have this kind of a mind map with you, having a mind map with you in a paper drawn, keeping it on the table or the podium which you have, it is okay. But looking at a paper and reading what you have written is not what we do when we are making a speech, right? So that is why this mind map is going to be helpful, so that it will give you, it will remind you what you need to speak about, right? So it will be the same when you are writing an essay also, but in that case, essay, we know that we are anyway writing. So still you can use the mind map or the list which I told you earlier to make a speech or an essay, right? So that is actually what I just wanted to highlight in that. And when it comes to activity 10, the activity 10 again, what have been given is to read the given paragraph and to answer, right? So this is one of the activities which we have done. I think we did a couple of exercises. We read some information and we answered the questions. I think even the first few exercises were related to this. And if you go on reading this paragraph, you will see that this paragraph is not much complex. It has very simple words. So in that case, I think we can skip this as well. So you can try to read it and try to find the answers here. So this paragraph is also very simple and the questions are also very easy, right? So you can do it by yourself as well, since we have already done few examples. And if you think you want me to check, that you want to get confirmed whether what you have written or what you have given as answers are correct, you can send it me so that I will check it. Right? Okay, so activity 11. This is actually what I was planning to do today because it is going to be a different activity, right? So what is this? It is said to be a crossword puzzle, right? I think maybe you have done these kind of crossword puzzles in which you have some boxes or words which you need to find the other letters. You need to find the word actually, and based on the given letters, you need to fill the remaining letters. So in order to fill this, you will be given some hints, right? So these hints will let you know whether the word is a cross. So if it is says this is a cross, this word will be something which is going horizontally in this way, right? So across means the word is going across this way horizontally. But if it is said as down, just give me a minute. Sorry for that disturbance, sorry. So I was explaining down, right? So if it is said this is down, that means the word which is related to this given hint is something like this, that is from top to bottom, or else we could say this is vertical, right? So horizontal and vertical. So if it is across, the letters in the word will go in the horizontal way, and if it is down, it will be from top to bottom, or else it is vertical, right? So the other thing you need to understand is we are given these numbers. So that means 2. If we take as an example 2, right? So that means across, whatever the hint, whatever the answer which is related to the hint given to us will be a word which is going across this puzzle, and it is number 2. So we will have to see where number 2 lies in this puzzle. So you can see here it is 2. So that means whatever the answer which is related to this given hint should be a 4-letter word, right? So we have 1 letter, 2, 3, and 4. So it should be a 4-letter word, and it's starting with L, right? So because sometimes it is hard for us, when even we are given a hint, it is hard for us to find the corresponding answer. So in that case, we are given another help by having some letters filled, right? So just as an example, I will just explain one word across and one word down. So if we look into the first one, across, it is two. That means this is the word which we are going to find. It says, our English teacher read out a blank of verbs. So we need to find what is this blank, right? So it says our English teacher read out. So she or he has read something which is related to verbs. Read out a blank of verbs, right? So generally we know we have this kind of, in this example also, I gave a blank of flowers, right? So maybe you might have heard, I think it is not given here, a cup of tea, right? A cup of tea, which means a cup which is filled with tea, right? So likewise, here also you can see we have to find what of this given word, right? So in this case, what we can have as verbs. So in this case, it would be a list of verbs, right? Our English teacher read out a list of verbs, right? So in that case, we will have to fill this. I will just try to fill it. Right. So I'm going to fill it list. So we need to know the exact spellings. I would write I and then S and then T, right? So our English teacher read a list of verbs, right? So likewise, we will have to see what are the next words. I gave a blank of flowers. Generally, we have this kind of uh, phrases which we use, as I said, a cup of tea, right? I prepared a cup of tea, right? So likewise, there will be these kind of phrases. So we are actually going to learn those phrases. If it is flowers, if it is chocolate, if it is biscuits, we use something, right? So generally in our day-to-day usage, we have some phrase here. So that is what we are going to learn from this crossword puzzle, right? And I will just do one on down as well. So it is number 1. So if I go up here again, it is this one. So you can see when we filled this 2, one letter related to the first word, the down or the vertical words also is filled. One letter is filled. So it would help us to fill that word. Okay. So we will see. My mother bought a blank of potatoes at the supermarket. So it is potatoes. So generally, uh, how we are going to mention potatoes? We generally measure, right? So this is generally all of these things which we actually are going to find is like how we are going to group this in these things, right? So verbs, it was a list of verbs. Flowers, how we are going to group it. So it is kind of, we are trying to say, or we are trying to get a phrase which is of a group of something, right? So there will be different words which we will be using. So here we have, my mother bought a blank of potatoes at the supermarket. So generally we know potatoes, how we group or how we measure it in kilograms. So we can say kilo, right? So you can see when I fill this, I'm actually filling one letter in the word which is having as 4, right? So list, and this is kilo, right? So likewise, you will have here few, and here also very few. So I will just give you maybe 10 minutes, right? I will give you 10 minutes. So try to see blank of potatoes, blank of grapes, how we are going to group the grapes, blank of milk, blank of salt. So this is easy for you to find because you are given with a sentence, right? So generally it is hard for us to find if it is not given, but here we are given as a sentence as well, so it is easy. So I will just give you about 8 to 10 minutes so that before ending the lesson today, we can discuss the answers. So quickly you can start doing this, right? I hope all of you have the workbook or the pupils book with you, right? Because I cannot show all these things in a single page, or rather I can show, I think it is clear to you as well. So you can take 5 to 10 minutes, and once you are done, please raise your hands, and then we will discuss, right?
Teacher,
Yes, Mitulya.
teacher, do we need to draw the puzzle?
Oh, it would take some time. So in that case, what you can do is you can simply put the number, right? You can write across and write 2. And for the second one, what is the answer? You can simply write the word, right? You can take the use of the puzzle, the picture given here to identify what are the missing letters. But when you are writing the answers, you can simply take or write across, and afterwards you can take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and simply write the word.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Okay, so since I can see most of you have raised your hands, I think we can start to discuss because we have only few more minutes also. So we will start and then we will move ahead, right? Okay, so I did the first or rather the second one across. So we will start with the words which are across. Second one we already did. So third one, I gave a blank of flowers to my friend on her birthday. So we need to fill the third one, this one. Okay, so I will take the ones who have raised their hands in the order. So Neluni, yes, Neluni, can you tell me what is the word which is coming here?
A bouquet of flowers.
Yes, would you like to spell it?
BOCQUET.
B-O, the next one.
C.
Okay, can someone also tell me whether it is correct or should there be anything changed? Maybe Sulaksha, would you like to try it?
BOUQUET.
Yes, so it should be BOUQUET, right? So Neluni, it should be BOUQUET, right? Anyway, you spelled the hardest part, QUAT, so it should be BOUQUET, right? Okay, the next word, four, across. We all shared the blank of chocolate given by my uncle. Maybe I will ask again from Sulaksha, as Sulaksha, it was not her original attempt. So Sulaksha, would you like to try the fourth one? We all shared the,
Box.
box, yes. So here it should be, what is the word, letter we need to have here?
X.
Yes, good. So it is box, right? So generally we say a box of chocolate, right? Because we have chocolates in boxes. So that is how we represent box of chocolate. Okay, the fifth one. There is a blank of biscuits in the cupboard. So this is what we will need to fill. There is a blank of biscuits in the cupboard. So next we have Kalani.
Tin.
Yes, would you like to spell?
TIN.
Yes, so it should be T-I-N, right? So it should be tin, a tin of biscuits. Right, we'll move on to sixth one. A blank of rice was given to every displaced family. A blank of rice was given to every displaced family. So we have 6 here across. Vitulya?
A sack of rice was given to the displaced family.
Yes, good. So would you like to spell it out?
SACK.
Yes, good. S-A-C-K. So it should be a sack. What do we mean by a sack? Sack කියන්නේ ගෝනියක්. අපි හාල් දාන්නේ ගෝනිවල. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැකලා තියෙන කඩේ තියෙනවා හාල් ගෝනිවල. ගෝනියට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ sack. A sack of rice. Okay. 8. 8 across, right? A blank of soldiers went back to their barracks. A blank of soldiers went back to their barracks. Yes, Savidya, would you like to try this one?
Troop.
Yes. Would you like to spell?
T-R-O-P.
Yes, very good. So it is troop, T-R-O-O-P. Right. So what do we mean by a troop? It is a word which we use for a group of soldiers. Right. So instead of telling group of soldiers, we specifically use the word a troop of soldiers. Right. 9 across. Sandria bought a blank of curd. Sandria bought a blank of curd. Bashita, would you like to try?
What?
Pot, yes. So how do you spell it?
P-O-T.
Yes, it should be P-O-T, right? A pot of curd. 10 across. My mother offered a blank of cake to the visitor. My mother offered a blank of cake to the visitor. Yes. Ishini, would you like to try?
Piece of cake.
Yes. And how do we spell it? Would you like to spell it, Ishini? Or else anyone who would like to volunteer?
P-I-E-C-E.
Yes, P-I-E-C-E. Right, a piece of cake. Right, and then 11 across. Venura had a blank of tea. I think I mentioned this, so I will simply put the word. It is a cup of tea, right? And then now we should move on to the down. But now you will see when we move on to the down, some words are already, like some letters are already filled. Here also you can see C is filled. So it is easy for you to find what are the words in the downward direction, right? So first one, I think I already discussed. Third one, my father brought me a blank of grapes. So it is 3 down. Okay, so we will go back to Neluni. Would you like to try? Blank of grapes.
Bunch of grapes.
Yes, very good. So how do we spell it?
B-U-N-C-H.
Yes, very good. So it is a bunch of grapes. So generally we group the grapes as a bunch, right? And then 4 down, this one. I bought a blank of milk from the grocery store. I bought a blank of milk from the grocery store. Yes. Sulaksha, would you like to try?
Bottle.
Yes. Would you like to spell it?
B-O-T-T-L-E.
Yes, very good. So it is B-O-T-T-L-E, right? A bottle of milk, a bottle of wine. So there are different things whenever we are talking about something drinking, something which we can drink, we always explain it, or we use the phrase bottle of that particular drink, right? The last one, 7 down. The students added a blank of salt water to the solution. Kalani, would you like to try this one?
Drop.
Drop, yes. Would you like to spell?
D-R-O-P.
Mhm. Yes, very good, right. Okay, so that is how we have to complete this, right? So from this activity, you learn how to fill a crossword puzzle as well as the most important thing is the phrases we learned, right? So we need to know a list of verbs, a bouquet of flowers, a box of chocolate, a tin of biscuits, a sack of rice, a troop of soldiers, a pot of curd, a piece of cake, a cup of tea, a kilo of potatoes, a bunch of grapes, a bottle of milk, and a drop of salt water, right? So these kind of phrases you need to know that will help you to read and write meaningfully, right? So that is the activity which we have completed right now, right? So since we have gone beyond the time, I think we can end the class today, but for the next one, we will just try to do this one once we join, right? So you may not need to write anything at home, but look at the picture and think of few things which you can use to describe the picture, right? So it is a village fair, right? අපේ ගමේ තියෙන පොළ කියන එක ඒකේ තියෙනවා. So how we are going to describe what we can see here, right? So we need to learn how to describe something, right? So take few minutes at home and try to think few sentences by yourself. So next time we will start with this activity in which all of you will give 2 to 3 sentences related to this picture, right? So this will be the activity or the homework for today, right? With that, we will end the session for today. And one more announcement, maybe most probably I may not be able to take the class this Wednesday, but I'm not sure about it yet. So I will drop a message. I will let you know whether we will be having it or not, maybe by tomorrow evening, right? So in case we do not meet this Wednesday, that means day after tomorrow, we will be again meeting in the following Monday, right? So we will end the lesson for today. Thank you and good night to all of you.
Thank you, teacher. Good
Thank you,
night.
teacher.
Thank you, teacher. Good night.
Okay.
Thank you,
welcome
teacher. Good
to
night.
all. Good night.
Thank you, teacher. Good night.
Good night, Bashita.